$500 fine. There is no discretion for the city council to go below this minimum. However, under state statute, the maximum civil penalty is $2,000 and up to a 60-day suspension or revocation. There is a resolution that has been provided to the council for adoption that lists out the findings of the council with regards to the violation based on reports that have been provided by the police department. And it imposes a $500 fine and a suspension of 1 day.
I move to approve the resolution 20-1026-02.
I'll
There's a
second
motion.
that.
Okay. Motion by Cahill, second by DeLuca to approve the resolution, and it will be a roll call vote.
Julie, can I make a comment before we do that?
Yes, you may.
I want to say to the business that I appreciate the fact that the business accepted responsibility for the mistake that was made. And that's why I'm supportive of the minimal amount that we're statutorily required to implement.
Thank you for that feedback. Any other comments or questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I just may state one more item, that under the resolution, that when the fine, the $500 civil penalty is paid, and when the 1 day suspension will happen, will be a discussion between the police chief and the license holder.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor, it looks as if somebody may have raised their hand that's in the attendance. I don't
I
know.
can't see any of that.
It looks like it's the owner, Sean Schumacher of Liquor Depot, may have raised his hand. Just so you know.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, I'm trying to convert Mr. Schumacher into a panelist so he can discuss, but having some difficulty.
Mr. Schumacher, was there anything that you wanted to say?
Am I up now?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I see. I don't know if you can see me or not. The reason I did not contest this is that obviously we take this very seriously. I've had a liquor store in Loretto for over 13 years, in addition to holding a license in Maple Plain now for almost 6 years. And this is the first violation of any kind. So that's, and in fact, I think the city of Medina conducted their compliance check just this last weekend, and we passed their compliance check as well. The employee was terminated immediately. I had the manager go down and explain to him that he would no longer be employed by us because this type of violation is unacceptable. In reading the city recommendations, from what I read is that the city recommendation is strictly a $500 fine. It does not mention for first violation with any 3-year period, it recommends a $500 fine. There's no mention of a 1 day suspension within that. recommendation. So I guess I'm wondering why that 1-day suspension was added on.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Landsman.
The city code, it actually listed out on the staff report, has the city code provisions that apply to the violation and the civil penalty. Section 110.36B deals with the and 110.36D1 both provide for the mandatory, lack of better words, mandatory minimums for us for the violation under city code, which includes a 1-day suspension and the $500 fine.
I guess the packet I received simply lists that section A that says first violation with any 3-year period, $500 fine. And in researching, some of the common recommendations from other cities, it's typically just a fine for the first violation. Especially, I mean, again, it's been 6 years with no violation, and we took very swift action.
Scott, what part of state statute plays into this?
Madam Mayor.
Yes. Go ahead.
With regard to the state statute provides for the maximums. So MnStat section 340A.415, that provides for a civil penalty of up to $2,000 and a revocation for up to 60 days, or I'm sorry, a suspension for up to 60 days, or revocation of the license. Under the state statute, there are no minimums that are imposed. However, the city code itself specifically states the minimums.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. All right, so we need to establish the penalty for Liquor Depot. Our city code states that it is minimum $500 and 1 day of no sales. That is what we are proposing. So I am looking for a motion.
I think we're up to the roll call vote.
Are we? Sorry. Yes, we are. We have the motion, we have the second, so it's a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry about that. Moskowski,
Aye.
Luca,
Aye.
Fay,
Aye.
Cahill,
Aye.
DeLong,
Aye.
Right. The ayes have it 5-0. Okay. Our next item of business this evening is to consider approval of an ordinance amending the Maple Plains City Code by adding chapter 116 regulating tobacco and tobacco-related devices. I will turn that over to staff.
Police Chief Groves.
You're muted, Chief.
All right, I'll do that again. Honorable Mayor and council members, included before you in your packet is a memo from myself discussing a new tobacco ordinance 116. On August 1st of this year, 2020, the state legislature updated tobacco laws to reflect the changes in statute to prevent young people from starting to use tobacco. Myself and City Attorney Scott Landsman, along with Administrator Frank Boyles, were unable to locate a current city code on tobacco ordinance. So we drafted a a new ordinance 116 for you to review that should apply and reflect all current laws and regulations with the tobacco ordinance. It obviously reviews the process of how do you obtain a tobacco license within the city of Maple Plain, and how do you renew it each year. Each tobacco license is valid for 1 year and is a renewal application through the city. It clearly states that no person can sell tobacco or tobacco related products without first obtaining a license from the city of Maple Plain. Currently, we only have one establishment within our city limits of Maple Plain that has a tobacco license. Once the license has been issued, West Hennepin, we're talking about compliance checks, are required by law, Minnesota law, to conduct annual compliance checks on all tobacco license holders. Again, administrative penalties are listed for violations for the annual compliance checks if a failure should occur under 116.07. Attached is an example of the tobacco ordinance 116, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. And Scott, our city attorney, can assist as well.
Questions for staff regarding this ordinance?
Was Exhibit A drafted from whole cloth, or did you pull that from another city?
There's not much original thought left in the world anymore. I think I may, there was some material. I'll put it this way. There are some materials out there with regard to assisting cities in drafting the tobacco ordinances based on both the new federal law and the new state law. I used that as a source, looked at other cities to get some sources to help for Gary and I to put the ordinance together. I will say that the model ordinance that was provided, I felt like had a lot of extras in there that, in my mind, that didn't apply, that wouldn't provide any benefit to the city. So we took those out of there.
Out of curiosity, why is this needed in addition to what is required by the state and federal laws?
One item is that I believe, Gary, it's been a while since we actually worked on this, but I believe what we came up with is that if the city doesn't regulate this and do the compliance checks, then the county will step in and be taking over that function. And I think there was discussion that the city would rather have the control over what's going on within the city.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for staff? Okay. With that, then I'm looking for a motion to approve ordinance 116.
So moved.
Moved by DeLong,
Second.
second by Cahill. Any other further discussion or questions? Right, it will be by roll call vote.
Moskowski,
Aye.
DeLong,
Aye.
Cahill,
Aye.
Fay,
Aye.
DeLong.
How about DeLuca? I'll vote.
Luca, pardon me.
Still aye.
All
John,
right.
you don't get 2 votes, buddy.
Mm. All right. Did you vote, DeLuca?
I did.
Okay.
I said yes.
All right. So the ayes have it 5-0. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your work on that. Next item of business, new business, is letter E. Consider approval of the recommendation from the Interview Application Review Board for Fire Chief commencing on January 1st, 2021. And I will let staff walk us through this process.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The fire department, much of the activity, formal activity, is set forth in what is known as standard operating guidelines. I think there are about 15 chapters which identify certain actions which need to be taken and precisely how those actions are taken. Every 3 years, you decide on a new fire chief, and that third year now is coming up as of January 1, 2021. And so proceeding under the standard operating guidelines set forth in SOG 1501.4, we put together a 6-person committee, and that 6-person committee is based on some pretty precise directions. First, the longest tenured firefighter, the firefighter over but closest to 20 years, the firefighter over but closest to 10 years, the chair of the fire commission, the city administrator of Independence, and the city administrator of Maple Plain. That group of people interviews any and all candidates who are deemed to meet the minimum criteria as fire chief. We put together a packet, sent the packet over to the fire station, was there for probably a week and a half. We received one application, one candidate, and that was from Ray McCoy. Now, Ray, as you can see, is on the committee as the longest tenured firefighter and therefore had to resign from the committee. And Rick Dennison joined us as the second longest tenured firefighter, and so he became a member of that 6-person body. We conducted an interview, about a half a dozen questions and a couple of add-ons on Thursday, October 22nd. Following the interview, the committee discussed Mr. McCoy's candidacy, felt unanimously that it would be appropriate to appoint Mr. McCoy as police chief, as fire chief, effective January 1, 2021. In the meantime, of course, Chief Doyle would continue to serve. Be glad to respond to any questions council members may have. And of course, Council Member Cahill may have comments as well.
Any comments from Councilmember Cahill or questions from council?
No, Frank covered it very well.
All right. With that then, I am looking for a motion to approve Ray McCoy as the fire chief commencing on January 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember DeLuca, second by Councilmember Fay. Any other discussion or questions?
I just want to point out that Ray McCoy's resume is absolutely extensive. I didn't know what degree and depth he has. I'm assuming the interviewing process went very well. I believe extremely qualified and will do a bang-up job of trying to correct what we all understand to be some shortcomings between the council and the fire department. So I'm looking for great things to happen after January 1.
I would add that I think we're very fortunate to have a seasoned leader like Ray willing to step forward. I'm very pleased.
Thank you for that feedback, Councilmember Fay and Councilmember DeLuca. Any other comments, questions? Okay, with that, we have a motion and a second on the table. So all in favor of approving Ray McCoy for Fire Chief January 1, 2021. Show of hands, 5. All right, opposed, same sign. Right, the motion carries 5-0. So congratulations to Ray McCoy, who will be serving as new fire chief on January 1st. And thank you for your commitment to serve. Next item of business is letter F, consider approval and prepare plans for quotes for the 2021 seal coating program. And I will turn that over to our engineer, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. We touched on this item earlier, And this is an effort just to keep our street maintenance activities moving forward. According to the city's capital improvement plan, we're scheduled to do seal coating for Bud, Howard, and Independence. And so what we have laid out right now is an estimated construction cost of about $43,000. So our fee estimate to put together the plan specification and solicit quotes for that project is in your packet. We have a not to exceed fee of $4,900, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Councilmember Fay.
Does anyone remember what we had budgeted in our CIP for this seal coating for 2021? Was it somewhere around $40,000?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was around 45-50.
Okay, perfect. And then, Dave, you're not aware of this, but one of the maintenance items that was in the park maintenance plan that was kind of drafted and redrafted over the course of the first half of this year was some seal coating of the bituminous path that runs around Baker Park, or excuse me, Rainbow Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if this would be a good time to maybe incorporate a little bit of that preventive maintenance to that bituminous trail to try to extend the longevity of that, as long as they're going to be mobilizing for a $43,000 project.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't looked at the condition of that trail, but I would think that would be the appropriate time to put that in there at the same time. It's going to be the same contractor doing that type of work, and we can certainly add that.
Councilmember DeLuca.
We had talked with the previous administrator about moving up some of the seal coating from 2022 into 2021. That apparently got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, so basically you're saying expand it to a little bigger project than what I have represented here?
Right, with the theory that we might get some economy of scale, and a couple of the roads that were in 2022 look like they might have needed to be in 2021. And that was back in like February, March. So I can see how it might have gotten dropped, but I don't know what the council's view is on that.
I would still like to look into that. To your point, there were roads that I thought were far worse off than Bud and Howard, because those were just recently redone.
Well, and I think part of that is my recollection was that when you do a new road 2 years, 3 years later, you're supposed to do that to extend the longevity. I get that piece, but we had some other pieces of the capital budget that we said those should be done down the road, and we said push them up.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I too am in favor of that.
Frank, can you and Dave look at that at least, and may just expand the scope a little bit? It's just the same dollars, it's just when it's being expended.
Certainly.
Yeah, no problem from our standpoint. You know, that really our effort is more putting the bid package together. The size of the project isn't going to make a whole lot of difference from our standpoint. So whatever you feel comfortable with from a budgeting standpoint, you are correct in that this type of project, we tend to get a little better unit price the larger the project. Like you had mentioned earlier, you know, they're mobilizing into town. Once you have them here, the more you can get done, usually the better bang for our buck we'll get.
Do you still want a motion we have, or do we want to wait and do it when you come back with everything?
I would say it's up to you. You know, we'll if you feel more comfortable with me coming back with kind of the added projects, or we can do it the other way around. You can give me some direction on one, I can go back and look at that CIP and probably put together what those roads that we're talking about are. Otherwise, if you have an idea of what roads you believe are missing or you would like to add, you get that to me and we'll just make sure that that it's incorporated into the project. From an engineering standpoint, it really isn't going to change what we're doing. Just need to understand what your goal is.
Mayor, members of the council, it sounded like to a person you were positive about maintaining the roadways. So it might be useful perhaps for a motion and second, directing the staff to prepare for the current program, but look at the possibilities of expansion and where that might be most appropriate. Then at least we're one step into it, as it were.
And what I would plan to do then is with our engineering report in November, then update you and make sure that we're staying on the same page as to what we're visualizing for the scope of that project.
I think as long as there's an understanding that that's what we want you to do is move 22 up into 21, give us the numbers so that we're all on the same page. I'd make that motion, Julie.
There's a motion on the table by Councilmember DeLuca. Looking for a second.
I'll second that, but only under the condition that you spent, Dave, you spent 10 hours recrafting a maintenance CIP. So that's the document that you'll be using to pull some of the most current projects into this mix. Okay, then I'll second, Mayor.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions?
And then just to clarify, and then what I'll do is circle back with you at the November meeting with that, just to make sure there's no misunderstanding as to what we plan on moving forward with and putting together for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilmember Fay, did you have another comment?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So all in favor of allowing staff to go ahead with the quotes and the seal quoting for 2021 by a show of hands. All right, 5 hands opposed. All right, 5-0. Thank you for your work with that, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, next item of business this evening is consider approval of a report on actions underway to improve city appearance.
Mayor, members of the council, I know that each of you takes a great deal of pride in this community. Certainly you should. And we all hope that voluntarily 9 out of 10 or maybe 10 out of 10 people and businesses will do the same. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work like that. There are occasions where the staff, who really is seeking to accomplish things, corrections of property, in a cooperative, positive manner, is just not successful in doing so. My experience has been that if you use cooperation, up to 90% of the kinds of issues that we see out there, whether it's unmown grass or the accumulation of things that attract vermin, etc., or simply ignoring certain regulations that are intended to be followed for the general benefit of the public. And normally 90% of those cases or more, you can get them accomplished if people are willing to. Well, we've run into at least 2 cases where we are not getting the kind of cooperation we hope so, despite the fact that we've tried. I've not identified the specific properties, but I have provided you with photographs that show that the properties, well, in both cases, are being used as business locations. In one case, the individual is storing a number of vehicles, 7 to 9 vehicles at a time. The vehicles are then shuttled to a car repair location. The individual apparently, or his business, owns 2 different car repair locations. And so you have a property sitting there with 7 to 9 cars on it, and a very large canister container. One of those you will see on ships as they try to move things. And the canister seems to be a permanent accoutrement of the property. Our police chief has done his best to try and encourage cooperation, and it simply hasn't worked. The second property is in our business office park. Now, typically an office park zone is one of your highest commercial industrial areas. Unfortunately, what we have in this particular lot is the storage on an ongoing basis of 27 boats and trailers. But the law provides that there is no outside storage to be occurring there. We have tried to contact these individuals, and somehow they believe that if they break the law long enough, that that will provide leverage to perhaps get a conditional use permit so that they can store boats or trailers there. I don't think that's the way the city does business. I know our city council does not. Mayor, members of the council, when criminal efforts, that we have three means of concluding these matters. One is cooperatively, and as I said, I hope that 90% of them happen that way. The second, if that fails, is criminal. You take the matter to court, and that generally resolves some smaller things. The final one is civil. Civil does cost more money, but civil requires the time of everyone involved and the money, unfortunately. But its reputation for getting things accomplished much better than criminal. And so in both of these cases, we are proceeding. Much as we don't like to do it, it is the only avenue now available. The first thing that will happen is each of these owners will get a letter from the city attorney. And it's our hope against hope that they will take that letter seriously so that we can resolve it at that stage. If not, we'll be going to court and we'll keep you apprised along the way. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for staff? Councilmember DeLon?
Are we able to recoup any attorney fees in a civil? In a civil case, are we able to recoup if we win attorney fees?
Madam Mayor.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. It'll be minimal fees that we can recoup. There's if we are successful in a lawsuit and trial, then the city has a right to get certain costs and disbursements, but it's going to be minimal. It would not include attorney's fees.
What about like towing or something like that? And I mean, what kind of recourse do we have? Like all those boats over there. I mean, can we do any towing or booting or anything like that legally?
As of right now, it's on private property. And in reality, in order to enter private property, we would have to have a judge's order. And so that's why we're going through this process, is that we are making an allegation that they're in violation of city code. And we need, and because of the process with regards to their property rights, we would have to have the court to make a determination that they need to comply with city code. And then if they don't comply with that court order, if that's the point we get to, then the court's going to order their compelling, and then they would be more direct measures taken. At that point too, the court may also, I would make a motion to the court to get our enforcement fees at that point, and the court may actually order it because they're not in compliance with the order. Now, I should state that typically when we have done these in the past for other cities, I would say it's in the past 20 years of doing this, I think I've had maybe one case actually go to trial, and it was a positive case for the city. So most of these cases, not saying that that it won't happen, but most of these cases don't go all the way to trial.
Okay.
Well,
Do either of the, excuse
go
me.
ahead, Councilmember DeLuca.
Do either of these businesses have a conditional use permit that we have some leverage with?
I don't believe they do. As I said, in the case of,
They don't.
They're on private. Okay, thank you. Then continue enforcement.
Any other questions from council for staff? Frank, do you want a motion for this, or you're just? You're me.
You were on mute, Frank.
oh, shoot.
Now you're off now. Oh, now you're back on. You're muted.
There we go. Okay, I found it.
Okay.
Yes, it would be helpful. A motion second, simply to show.
Okay. All right, I'm looking for a motion and a second to go ahead with approval on the city's desire to clear up the appearance of those two lots. And
I will make
motion by Councilmember Fay,
I will second.
second by Councilmember DeLong. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor by a show of hands? Okay, I see 5 hands. Opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries 5-0 in support to clean up the appearance. All right, thank you, staff, for all your work on that. I know it's taken a team effort. That is it tonight for new business. Next, we will move on to council reports and other business. And I will start with Councilmember Fay.
Hello. A week ago Thursday attended Pioneer Sarah Creek Watershed, where we voted to approve the final draft of our 4th generation plan. Fourth generation plan is kind of the blueprint or the document that any generation plan is the document or the blueprint that the watershed follows. Our 3rd generation plan was only good for 6 years. We're hoping to get 10 years out of this one. It's a wonderful document. I continue to attend Rotary on Thursday mornings in person, not virtual. And with all of you, I attended the fire department listening session. I will say I was hoping for greater participation, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Thank you, Councilmember Fay. DeLong.
Nothing additional other than our regular meetings.
Thank you. Councilmember DeLuca.
No report.
Councilmember Cahill.
I attended the planning commission where we discussed the sign variants we approved tonight, and also participated in the fire chief interviews.
Thank you. I as well have been able to attend Rotary and also been able to attend our chamber meetings, which we are doing in a hybrid model. The chamber was very grateful for the grants that were made available. I was able to attend the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee meeting through the county. Obviously, with everything going on right now in our world, the meetings have been very interesting. And yeah, we're looking at moving forward and how we can best work together and involve everyone in the county, not just Minneapolis and St. Paul. At the Northwest Hennepin League of Municipalities meeting, Sheriff Hutchinson came out and was our speaker. So that was good to have an opportunity to thank him and hear from his perspective. And I think that's it for me this month, in addition to our regular meetings. So thank you to everyone for your work. Thank you to staff for keeping things running and working smoothly. Any other business this evening? Okay, hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Moved by Councilmember DeLuca,
I will second.
second by Councilmember DeLong. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed, same sign. All right, the meeting is adjourned at 8:25 PM. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thanks.
You guys too.